Alright. Hi everyone, welcome back to Katarina's Garage. My name is Katarina Lloyd, and today we're actually going to talk about why on earth does it make more sense for me to actually keep the 200 inline six that's in my car versus swapping to a 302. And I mean, I've broken this down a bit before, but put it this way. So, I've kind of broken down some of the costs, and it would cost you about, give or take, $2,000 if everything's like brand new, excluding the motor, and that's like a used motor for like $800. Okay, you can get cheaper 302s than that. You can get more expensive 302s than that, but that's like a mid-range 302. Most 302s that you're gonna find are low compression, 150-ish horsepower, 2-barrel 302s. Yes, you can put a 4-barrel intake and carb on it, but that's gonna cost you some money. Like a used 4-barrel intake is still going to cost you like $200, and then a good like 600 CFM carb or even like a 500 CFM 4-barrel, that's going to cost you, another like $400, just as an example, right? So depending, it could be a little cheaper than that, to be fair. It depends on the carburetor, but I could spend $2,000 and make another, like 50 or so horsepower on top of what I currently do. Or I could spend that $2,000 and actually like build up the engine, because this is my idea. So I have in the trunk of Stitch, which actually we'll go to the trunk right now because it's still back here. So in the trunk of Stitch here, I have a 200 inline six head that I just need to get the money together to get it checked out by a machine shop to make sure it's all there. So, you guys may have seen this in other videos, you may not have. It depends if you caught that video or not. That was like, a couple months ago at this point. But, in this garbage bag, well, actually a couple of garbage bags to be fair, I have a Tri-Power built head. This is actually off of a 75, I believe, engine, but it's a small lug head, so doesn't have as good a flow technically as the other head, but this is set up for 3 1-barrel carbs, which is just a superior setup. Now, alternatively, something that might happen is I might actually get these put on my head that way, so I can have this whole setup here like this, which would be actually pretty fantastical. Now, and it looks like it has, upgraded valve springs, but I don't know what they're set to or anything like that. But this head supposedly was, it was, what, planed, no, sorry, my brain's not working, I apologize, I'm a little tired. But anyways, this has been like decked 50 thou. So this would actually increase compression, especially with the smaller valves that this should have. This would be a big upgrade to the car. And so that's one of these things of, like I said, playing around with this will be awesome. And as long as I can actually get this head to work properly and it's not warped and stuff, because if you saw my video with tearing that engine apart, which is in the back of my truck right now, is that Chris didn't put a head gasket on the motor. So what he ended up doing was he bolted it down with a bunch of silicone, which is a big problem. You should never do that. And case in point, the pistons that were in there, which like supposedly they were supposed to be good 30 over pistons. Yeah, there was chipping and cracking and whatever else in them. They were junk, honestly. And majority of that engine was not usable. I was also sold it with an aftermarket cam. Technically an aftermarket cam in it, but it was just a stock replacement, so no point even trying to do that. So that just means I can genuinely just chuck that stock cam and chuck the lifters out, because there's no reason for them anymore, which is sad, because I was hoping to actually have like a decent setup for this, but nope. So that's okay. I'll put a cam in it later, just get one at some point. But so with everything in mind, like I can get my motor sort of built, get the head, make sure that it's all good, like, because at a machine shop, they'll charge you like $150 or so to check out the head and just make sure that it's all good. Maybe less than that. It depends on the shop, to be fair. I haven't really priced it out too much. But just to make sure that, I want to make sure that it isn't warped, because when he did that without the head gasket on it, it can cause major issues. Because for one, with how much heat there was, there's a possibility that he warped this head. I don't know. I don't have a straight edge around here to check that. So there is many different things, though, that we can kind of do to the motor to make it better. Like with this head, I have a long tube header, which you guys might remember. Again, this is going back a bit. This is about 3 years ago. I picked up this awesome Hooker Super Competition Series long tube header. Unfortunately, it didn't fit stitch, otherwise it'd be on here right now. And the reason why it doesn't fit is because it's actually for a 250 Maverick. 250s have a 4-inch taller deck height, and therefore it actually hits the K-member on my car. If it was for a 200, the one pipe, I think it's cylinder number 3, wouldn't actually come out so far. It actually goes in. That header's at my buddy Pat's shop right now. He is going to actually modify it, and we're going to install it into this car. So with getting more airflow out, because the little short tube that I have in stitch here, which actually I can show you guys that header, which is from Flash Shark Racing. And don't forget, if you go to Flash Shark Racing, use my code KAT15, all in caps, to receive 15% off your order. So hang on a second. Let me just pop the hood here. There we go. And then get this all open. So, and why it makes more sense to just build this thing out as opposed to swapping it. So, this is inherently stronger than a 302 would be, right? Like, just as an example, a 302 has 5 main caps, this has 7, right? So that goes to the strength of the bottom end. But, like I was showing you before, I have the stainless steel header that was actually, I had it ceramic coated, so, you know, it looks pretty good, it sounds amazing, and it's like 2 duals going out the back. So, when I could potentially get that head, like, on here with the tri-power and everything, get that all tuned properly, this thing is going to gain about, probably around 30 horsepower to the wheels, give or take. I would guess it might be less than that. I helped run a dyno, so I'd be able to actually show you guys what it would actually do with everything properly set up. And another reason why that I actually would retain this engine versus getting rid of it, it's lighter. And now people are like, well, why don't you just go to a 2.3 then? Because those are lighter too. It's just like, yeah, I like the unique factor of the straight 6, because how many straight 6s do you see in a Fox body? You know, not very many. So it's just one of these things, and like, I've done a bunch of modifications to where V8 guys would be all over my car, like 100%. But it's one of these deals to where I just like the straight 6. And like I said, my ceiling with the car, potentially, of what I want to do with it, is a little better with the straight 6 versus the 302. The straight 6, fully equipped with everything, is about 360 pounds, okay? Now, a 302, fully equipped, is about 440 pounds, give or take. Yes, you can put aluminum heads, but that's very expensive to do. Even GT40 heads, people sell for like $800 for the set of heads. You know, it's one of those deals where this, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be exactly cheap to build this, but I can spend that approximately $2,000 it would cost me to swap this car to a 302, and that's with me doing everything. Because, well, what all do you need for that? Well, I'd need better brakes up front, because again, more weight in the front, and stuff like that means better brakes, which I'm going to be upgrading the brakes at some point in this car, but regardless, I'm still in the stock inline 6 brakes. I'm going to need stiffer front springs, because I'm adding, you know, 80 pounds to the front end. So sticking with the straight 6 springs, it's probably going to have too much rebound and stuff like that. It's not going to be great. you know, I could keep the stock springs out back, more than likely. It'd have a little more, you know, weight transfer with that, so it might actually help it a little bit, because it's would be a little softer than, say, GT springs, because I think these are like the mid-range spring that are like stock style. I can't remember the exact poundage, but they're from Napa anyways. So, yeah, and what I'm doing with the car is I am making it into a road race car. And if you look on my channel, you'll actually be able to see that I've done some road racing in the past. I've done 3 total track days, and there's going to be more. I hope to do at least 2 more next year. We'll see how that kind of works out, to be honest. And like it's just a lot of fun, you know, to be able to do that. Now, because a lot of people would like me to just say screw it and swap all that straight 6 for a V8. I get it a lot from people, but it's like, I don't want to. For me, that is not what I want out of the car. I like I said, the unique factor, the smoothness, and the overall lightweight of the car. Because bear in mind, this car, when it was bone stock, before I did any modifications to it, was 2,680 pounds. That's full interior and everything. Like, that is extremely light. Now, like, I could make this thing a heck of a lot lighter, and the thing is, me and a buddy Pat were talking a little bit. I don't know how far we'd go, and it really depends on what he wants to do as well, because I'm going to leave it in his ball court of how much he actually wants to do it. Because, so, my buddy Pat, good friend of mine and everything, and he has, he's actually moving nearby, and he's a fan of the channel here. And so, he has talked about, you know, wanting to play with carbon fiber a bit. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on board with that. You know, and if we want to do, like, carbon fiber on my car, hey, feel free. Because, you know, some of the stuff that we potentially, again, this is just preliminary talks. It's not guaranteed this is going to happen, but carbon fiber trunk lid, carbon fiber doors, carbon fiber front clip, carbon fiber hood. You know, and that would eliminate a lot of weight. Like, I'd probably go down, I don't know, about 200 pounds or so, right? And that's a lot in a little car like this. So I'd be, you know, in the 2,400 pound territory, which would be fantastic, honestly. But then, something else, and people have wondered about this, just like, okay, that turbo that I got from Max Speeding Rods, that was actually a promotional thing. And, you know, what are you going to do with that? Well, the turbo might go on the truck, which you've seen the truck in the background. That might happen. Again, funds are tight for this stuff, so this is just kind of like me talking about stuff that may potentially happen, but may not. We'll see. Next summer I'll have more money, just right now, things are like super tight. But, honestly, like, there is a ton of opportunity for this little straight 6, because, I mean, and again, and who knows? This head might not, I might not be able to do anything with it, and then I just wasted time and whatever else picking it up, and energy, and a little bit of money, because, you know, full tank of gas on this thing is not exactly cheap. But regardless, you know, I could, like, end up, as an example, going to a Brazilian head, like a 221 head, or going to a, like an Argentinian head, or doing an Australian head, like a 250, removable intake and all that different stuff. They're pricey when you find them, though, and that's kind of the challenge, right? Where, like, this was, like, the perfect price, because if everything is good with it, me and Chris agreed $300 on the motor. But I'm gonna have to talk to him a little bit about that, because it wasn't as promised, you know, that way. With the head potentially having issues, with those 30 over pistons not being good, with the cam not being good, and also not being an aftermarket cam, that sort of thing. I ended up keeping the rods and rod caps out of it, though, you know, because they are forged. So I will give it that, but that's like stock forged from 65. So, you know, and that's the thing, because people are saying, well, why don't you just put the turbo on stitch? Which, that's the most logical thing. But with the tri-power setup, I do not want to play around with that. I do not really want to do, like, boost referencing 3 different carburetors. That sounds like an absolute nightmare. Because tuning 3 carburetors is a bit of a bitch, too. And, like, that's the thing, because, like, my buddy Roy Marco, he is going to be my savior when it comes to this. And I'm gonna have him, like when I'm in the middle of doing this, I'll probably have, because he said that he'd do like a free valve job for me and stuff like that, and porting and all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that, and then we can match it up to my header as an example, because it's got bigger ports on it. Just match, like, port matching it, right? And make this thing make. You know, like, when it's all said and done, it'd be really cool if I could get this thing, like, when it's fully built out, you know, when I, like, bore out the motor and stuff like that, or maybe I get a different head setup and stuff like that. I'd love for this thing to make, like, almost 200 horsepower, basically. And that 200 horsepower would be over 300 foot-pounds of torque, too. It depends on the way you build it, because, like, you can get these things to rev high, but, like, I've been told that you can get over 9,000 RPM out of these engines with, like, built internals and stuff like that. I'm like, I mean, if you can, cool. I don't plan on going anywhere near that high. Like, again, I just want a good little road racer that is pretty nippy overall. Like, it doesn't have to be super fast. And even right now, so the car is not fast by any stretch of the imagination. You know, she makes 100 wheel horsepower, 220 torque, as she currently sits. Like, and stock 0 to 60 was about 21 seconds in this car. Stock quarter mile was about 24 seconds. My best 0 to 60 mile an hour was 13.32, and the best quarter mile was 17.7. So, not too bad so far. That's just with me timing it myself and stuff like that. So it might not be like perfectly accurate. It's not like a draggy and stuff like that. So do bear that in mind, but it's pretty damn close with the timing I've done. Anyway, so that is just kind of the fun of these old cars. And the best part about, you know, old stuff like this is you can do whatever you want with it. You know, you want to make a V8 and, you know, light the world on fire with like 900 horsepower and a supercharger sticking out of the hood, go for it. Absolutely. You know, you want to make your foxbody and do a drift car, go for it. You know, you just want a nice little cruiser on the street for a foxbody, again, you can do that too. Like for this, I want it to be a street legal race car that's still decently comfortable going down the road. And right now she's kind of there, but like she's not fast, right? I need to make it make more power before I am in that kind of realm of being like, yeah, it's a full race car, you know, because it's not. But then other stuff that I want to do as well, because like obviously you guys saw it underneath the hood too. I've got the strut brace on the car. Well, I'd like to get a rear strut brace on this car. I'd like to get panhard bars on this car. I'd like to get a better suspension, like a coil-over suspension as an example. You know, there's lots of little things that I want to do to this car. It's just the budget's not there, unfortunately. So, like I said, in time, and with the exciting opportunities around the corner with the dyno and whatever else, and me taking over the business, starting next season, that will help out a lot with this whole thing. So I'm very, very, very excited for that. Because again, I'll be able to put a little bit away, and then be able to actually build this thing into what I want. So, and that's just kind of one of the reasons why I kind of, like I said, or multiple reasons why I retain the inline six, you know, is all of that. There's more as well, like, don't get me wrong, because like I said, what have we touched on as well? Well, overall price for like modification, to be honest, we're in the same ballpark with like a 302 and this when making the certain powers that we want to make. Like, as an example, if I wanted to make this thing make 300-400 horsepower, it cost me around the same as what it would cost a 302 to make that sort of power, roughly. You know, and it's like, well, why not just save weight and be unique? It's just a win-win-win-win-win, right? So, anyways, unfortunately, I'm gonna do a thing which is really sad because, well, you can see some snow on the ground. Winter is right around the corner. So I'm going to attempt to swap out all my wheels, because now that my finger, you know, and if you're wondering about my finger, it's okay now. I am just still being a little precautious with it, but seems like it's good. Because I snipped off a portion of my finger. It really effing hurt that night. Some people were saying that that is nothing. I'm like, you nick a nerve and come talk to me, okay? Because that's what I did. I nicked a nerve, and that was absolutely awful. Plus, it didn't stop bleeding for 15 hours too. So yeah. Like if people want to talk about pains, whatever else like that, it's like, yeah, have that sort of pain, nick a nerve, and don't have any proper pain meds for 15 hours. It's not fun. I don't recommend it. So anyways, hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, your family, your cat, your dog, your fish, your gerbil, your hamster. I don't know, I'm running out of, like, maybe you got a horse. You know, you can show the horse my video. Actually, that'd be really cool. If somebody wants to show a horse my video and then see the reaction and, like, tag me in that, that'd be dope. So anyways, and oh, somebody's playing with their bikes. That's a couple of bikes. Yep. Anyways, take care of yourselves. Look down in the description below. There's a couple of links. One is to my Teespring, which I have a bunch of merch now available. Another one is Flash Shark Racing, and like I said, use my code KAT15, all in caps, to receive 50% off your order. They do a lot of stuff when it comes to like headers and stuff like that. And oh, he painted his front end orange. Nice. You guys probably heard that. Yeah, that's Lance's truck. That thing's a pretty badass truck. You know, that thing makes about 600 horsepower out of a 302. Like a Chevy 302, not a Ford 302. Let me get that out of the way. But anyways, yeah, go check that stuff out. There's also Oxido as well. Again, same discount code, KAT15, all in caps, 50% off. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.